So there's been a lot of buzz happening around my social media posts this past week. I might put in a picture here, but you can check out my profile if you want to as well. But I've been talking about something that I've been noticing about Berklee School of Music, what they've been doing to help them get more online students, especially on their online side as well. And I kind of wanted to film this video, kind of share my thoughts around it, kind of tease it out a little bit, just so that you know what I'm talking about, and kind of be in the loop around what I'm going to announce later this week as well. But first, I want to kind of share my experience learning piano. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I've told a lot of you and a lot of my other clients as well. But when I was learning piano, I started piano at like, I think the age of, it's got to be like 4. I want to say 4. And I took lessons all the way up until like high school. So maybe like 13, 14. So around 10 years of lessons. And my experience wasn't like the best. And I say that a lot because a lot of people can be able to relate to that as well. I had the typical like traditional private lessons where I show up to my lesson every single week, go home, practice. I get in trouble if I didn't practice, and piano, what I feel like now is like my lifelong passion. Back then, it didn't start off like that. It started off feeling like a chore, and it felt like a routine, something that I just had to go through the motions with. And I remember when I was a kid, I was thinking a lot of like, why do I have to do this? And a lot of you may have gone through that same path, but a lot of you may not have gone the same path. And if you had a great childhood with music, I'm a little envious of you, but it doesn't change the fact that like I love music now, and I understand the power of it. But looking back on my experience with private lessons, I feel like one of the biggest reasons why I didn't enjoy it, I didn't see the value of it, and more importantly, I didn't feel the value of it as a child and as a student, was because it was inherently so lonely. Especially with piano, as a like specifically, piano lessons are so isolating because piano is like a solo instrument. It's not like you can play. There's not many places that have like group piano. Whereas if you're learning like an ensemble instrument, naturally you have to play with a group because it's part of making the music with that instrument. But piano is a solo instrument, so you don't really get any of that. so and so I don't blame this, but I attribute a lot of the lack of interest and the lack of passion towards music was really because of the environment that I was in. It was very lonely. It was just me and my teacher. And the only other time that I ever got to see other students was during our recital, which we would do like maybe twice a year. And that's it. So you could imagine, like as a kid, you're just being told to go through these motions and show up and be able to just practice. And for what though? Because growing up, nobody ever told me what music was actually supposed to be for. They just said, hey, you need to have fun. I'm like, I'm not having fun wanting to practice. So the point is that the environment was a big part of my experience in music. And through learning a bit more about myself, I know that for me, I'm the type of person that learns through experience and learns just by jumping headfirst into things. So for example, like getting into teaching piano, like I started teaching piano before I even started my music ed degree, as just a way to like get experience and learn from that. And I feel like everyone should be able to do that as well. But the with my story being there, I know that it's not anything super special because other families and other students go through that, whether they are kids or adults. There's so many students that feel like music is a chore and don't know the actual value and don't feel the actual value of music, especially when they're in these routine music lessons. And I feel like that's the big problem with this traditional way of running lessons, where students just show up into their private lesson and then they have this recital every other year, or twice a year or something like that. It's hard to learn, and it's hard to sustain that as well, not just by a student, but also by the teacher as well. Because I when I first started teaching piano, all I knew was to model it based on my experience. So what I felt like was happening was like, felt like I had to teach in this way. I had to make sure students are signed up for weekly private lessons where they show up, and then I didn't know how to host a recital, so I didn't even have recitals. So the problem really came with like, not only was I burning out teaching all of these students, but my students were burning out. There was nothing new. There's nothing to change up the environment. There's nothing interesting that we added. And the big thing that I see a lack of with this traditional way of running a music school is this lack of community, where we feel like private lessons are the best types of offers, so that's what we only offer to our students, and that's what we only teach through. It's only through private lessons. And there's lots of like group lessons, like music schools that offer group lessons out there, but even whether you offer like private lessons or group lessons, what we need to make sure is that we have a community and that we're fostering a community with our music school. So the reason why, like, talking about Berklee and all these other six-figure music schools, six-figure music teachers as well, the trend that I'm seeing has to do with fostering a community. So especially with like not just Berklee, but like music schools in general, I love the I won't get into a tangent with this, but I love the music school model that like universities run and stuff like that. But like, I have a problem with universities as a whole, so we won't get into that. But we'll talk about the things I do like, which is like, why is getting into music school so exciting? And I'm thinking about me, like, why was getting into SDSU's music program such an important part of my journey? It's because it's this environment that I jump into. Like, I sign up for 4 years. I'm gonna go gung-ho into music. I'm gonna be surrounded by other musicians who have that same passion, that same drive as me. I'm surrounded by teachers who are there to support me in my journey as well. And I feel like more music schools and private music teachers need to emulate that model, where we create this environment for our students to really thrive in. Because if they're anything like me, the type of learner that I am, like, the experience and the environment is the key to learning. Not just the curriculum, not just the method, not just the teacher, but it's the entire experience that really matters. I know that for me, the thing that really helps me learn is by being able to have those connections throughout the experience. So I have my experience with music school. I loved it. It was awesome. It got cut short by COVID though. But I am always, I feel like I'm always the person that is in a community. Like, I value mentorship and I value other people. And it didn't really hit me as hard as it does now until I went to an in-person retreat for the coaching program that I'm in. So my coach, my mentor is Dan Bolton, and he was doing this LA intensive where he brought the other clients, the entire community that I'm a part of with other coaches, and we're able to meet up in person. And it was really cool because when you get to know these people online and you finally get to see them in person, you get to hug them, you get to talk to them, you get to see that they're a real human being, it changes things. It makes it feel like, man, this is my life, this is my real life. And for a lot of us, we're moving towards online teaching and online group teaching and online programs, which I think is amazing. I'm all for that because it gives us the flexibility to teach. It also gives our students the flexibility to learn. But the inherent problem with that is that because we're so connected online and disconnected in real life, there's this lack of connection. There's this lack of community. There's this lack of experience that we just inherently have because of the model that we're in. So I'm not saying that online teaching is bad, but if we're looking at the inherent flaws of it, we need to make sure we're covering that blind spot as well. So making sure that you foster a community is the most important part about getting students to pay. If you want students who stay, who pay, and who refer you, Like the experience is the thing that we need to be able to focus on. So, that's why community is so important for me. I'm definitely going to be creating more content, especially this week, and I'm going to be announcing a workshop soon, so be on the lookout for that as well. But the community part is really that big part. And it's a big part of the hybrid model, because a lot of teachers, we focus in on the coaching part, we focus in on the course part, but whether we're teaching privately or in groups or through a course, we have to ask ourselves, are we fostering a community, right? Are we burdening ourselves with so much responsibility that the responsibility of client results is all on our shoulders? Right? Are we able to have an environment where students can be able to support each other? Some of you, your students have never even seen each other, right? And that's a problem in itself. They need to know that each other exists. They need to know that other students are on this journey as well. That's like taking aside like the strategy of building a music school and having a profitable business and stuff like that. At the core of it, this is what I believe. I believe that music is meant to be shared. And if you don't have an outlet to share it with, then we are not getting the most out of music. So we not only have to create music, but we have to share it as well. That's what the community is for. That's how we spread this value of music and music education is when we can actually share it out. So overall, there's this trend going on where music schools, and I see the most successful music schools and music teachers out there are fostering this sense of community. Whether they do offer private lessons or group lessons, it doesn't matter. Like, as long as you have this community involved with it, then you're going to create a better experience for the student. So ask yourself those questions. Ask yourself, how can I start fostering community today? It doesn't have to be a big step where you have to add all these students into like a big Facebook group or anything like that, but can you share what your students are doing with the other students, right? Can they be able to know what their fellow peers are doing as well? Can you help them feel like they are not alone in this process? That's the biggest thing. I've seen teachers create little group chats with their students. What I used to do when I was doing group lessons was there's this platform, Tonara, that allowed you to allow students to track their practice, but I created group chats with them within the app too. So they would send videos and send like what they're working on. It was really cute because these kids are like talking about Fortnite and stuff like that in these group chats, but they were able to connect, not just with the music, but through music. So, I feel like that's just the point of why we're teachers anyway. Helping these students make connections and navigate through life through being involved with music. That's the reason why I got into music in the first place. It was not because I liked music, but it was because I was in band. And marching band allowed me to make friends, make some of my lifelong friends through that. And I wouldn't have these experiences if it wasn't for music. So going into college and going into my music ed degree, I knew that the value of music wasn't being good at music, wasn't being an amazing musician, but it's about how do I get more experiences of life through music. Like, music is almost like the excuse to live a great life. So how are you doing that with your students? Would love to know that. Let me know, but feel free to continue following. There's going to be big things happening real soon, especially not just with like content, but with our inner circle community as well. So there's big plans in the works for upgrading it, making it even better, making it a place where we can really support each other. So looking forward to seeing your thoughts, and I'll see you soon.